All right, and we are live. Yes, Evie, tonight I'm so excited to have my Booktube doppelganger here with me on the channel. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to handle this much Tori in one screen. It's going to be great.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot. So I have with me this evening the wonderful Tori Morrow, whose channel I've been following for quite a long time. I'm one of those people that is a lurker on a lot of channels, and I'm trying to get better at commenting.
I know.
But for all of you who have not checked out her channel yet, please go down in my description box underneath this video and click on the link and go give her a subscribe, because she makes amazing content and has phenomenal taste in books. And it was interesting going through your Goodreads and your videos, because we have so similar tastes, except for a few books where we have like the completely opposite.
I was kind of stalking yours too, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot we agree on. But yeah. I know you're a big fan of The Lies of Locke Lamora and like Seas Under Red Sky, so that was kind of the first.
Yeah, I saw your video on that.
Yeah, but for the most part, like, I feel like both of us have really great taste. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, same to you. I feel like this is, yeah. So basically the moral of the story is everyone go follow our Goodreads, because we have great taste in books.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video title of, like, I can't remember if that was in your like biggest disappointments or second book disappointment or something like that. And I saw the cover for Red Seas and I was like, oh no, she hated it.
No, I didn't hate it. I just did not love it nearly as much as the first book.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought it wasn't just a big fan of the pacing in that book. And what I really loved about, I remember like Locke Lamora was Camor. And I just remember being so blown away with the setting and like just how vivid everything was. So in the second one, when we were like removed from that, I was like, this is not as fun. So
yeah. And that's one thing that I actually feel like people don't talk about enough when it comes to Lies of Locke Lamora, because everybody really goes gaga over the characters, as they should. But the world building is so good. It's so good and fresh. I remember reading it and being like, wow, this just feels like a completely different fantasy setting than I've ever been to.
Yeah, 100%. And like I remember what I really loved about Locke Lamora, not only the setting, but like how the characters you felt like they belonged in that setting, and they just kind of felt like right at home in Camor and the way that they responded to everything in the city. So I really loved where we were in the first book.
Yeah. I did really love book 2. The first one's still obviously my favorite, but I love, like, it's like Locke and Jean as pirates. Like, what more could you know?
They are a mess.
Great. They're always a mess. It's great. I'm going to just say hello, chat. Welcome to the chat. Hi, Pete. Hello.
Everybody. Oh my gosh.
My friend Evie says she's been watching you for literally years and also have just lurked.
Hi, Evie. Oh my gosh.
Andrew's Wizardly Reads is having a little bit of a moment here in the chat. Yes, there are 2 Tories this evening. It's great. So I have to ask, because Tori, I feel like probably when we were younger, the more common nickname is your full name, Victoria.
Yeah, it is.
Same. Okay. Yeah. I feel like the more common nickname back when I was a kid was Vicky.
Vicky.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Right. And like, no offense to all the beautiful Vickies in the world, but I am not a Vicky.
No, same.
No.
Yeah. And then I hate when people like assume that I am, because sometimes when I send emails, my full name will be in the email and they'll like reply, but thank you, Vicky. And I'm like, oh,
no.
Call me Victoria or call me Tori.
Yep. Yeah. I think the only person that I didn't get mad at for calling me Vicky was my great aunt Margaret when I was really young. She was great. Yeah. But yeah, I remember everybody when I was younger. Now it's a little bit more common, I feel like.
I think so too. Yeah. And it's funny because my mom, she used to always tell me this story. Like, she just wanted my first name to be Tori because someone in her class, years ago, around the time, was just Tori. And she's like, oh, it's just like so cool. And it was going to be just Tori, but her sister's name was Victoria. She's like, okay, well. Yeah. So yeah, I've always been a Tori. No one ever calls me Victoria. I only see it on like official stuff, and you know,
it almost weirds me out when I see it.
Yeah,
I'm like, who's that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was when I was a kid. One of my closest friends when I was little was named Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
And so everywhere we went, people were like, "Oh, it's the queens,"
Oh.
you know.
Oh,
I'm like,
yes.
no,
Royalty walking around.
right? Exactly. But yeah, it's really funny because I'm very much a tomboy, and so Victoria just feels so formal and ladylike, and not
Yeah,
me
not at all. No.
Yeah,
Not
Tori's very, very versatile, I feel like.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
love it.
We love to hear it, Andrew. I'm crossing my fingers. So Andrew is one of my closest friends on Booktube, and he's tried, I think, how many times have you DNF'd this book, Andrew? Like twice. So hopefully third time's the charm.
Yeah, third time is the charm. Andrew, am I following you? I feel like I've seen your username pop up. Like,
he's great.
Okay. Let me go check.
Yeah, you guys can just refer to me as Beanie Lady for the rest of the evening if that's helpful.
I love your hats. You have
Thank you.
First like video I ever saw from you, you had the Red Rising hat on, and that like drew me in from the thumbnail, and I was like, the Red Rising fan. I just like had to comment.
Yeah, that has done a lot of great marketing for me over the course of my channel. I think it was funny though, because I bought the hat just because I was such a Red Rising nerd. And I was like, oh, this is a cool hat, and I like beanies. Yeah. And it spiraled very quickly into that is now like the thing on my channel is the beanie. And I very quickly started getting people in the comments of my videos who were like, you're not wearing a beanie. Where's the beanie? Why are you not wearing it? Okay.
It's crazy how visual, obviously YouTube is visual medium, but how people just associate you with certain things. So when you don't have it, it throws people off.
Oh yeah, it is very weird.
Yeah, I want to get to the point though where I feel like I'm like have something, or like I'm known something on the chat. I don't know.
Yeah,
Uncle Pops in the background, but that's really about it. So I'm like,
well, I'm trying to think. You have your mug in quite a few of the videos,
and you know, I have it like just to keep myself hydrated when I'm filming, but I actually use it as more of like a crutch sometimes.
Yeah.
I just need to hold something. Like, this is weird. All these later filming just doesn't get any less awkward. So a lot of times if I'm holding something, that's why.
It's a little bit of a prop.
That almost, yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've always really loved about your channel is I have channels that I go to as kind of like the comfort watch, where it's just very cozy and very warm. You have such a warm personality, and I've always just loved sitting, and it's very calming. Like, I'm just gonna listen to Tori talk about books. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think you do too.
Thank you.
Very chill, and I like that.
Thank you.
Calm vibe, yeah.
Yeah, I try to kind of like not get too crazy.
You're someone who I watch with my Goodreads open.
So awesome.
Yeah, my phone like right in my hand. I'm like, what's she talking about?
That is a compliment. I appreciate. Thank you.
I just kind of listen to straight through, but you're one where I have my phone ready, and I'm like, let me look this up.
I think when I was looking at your Goodreads earlier, I think I'm trying to remember how many books I added to my TBR. Like 5, maybe, as I'm just scrolling through. Oh, that does look good. Yeah. She gave that 5 stars. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah. My favorite comments of people are like lovingly mad at me. They're like, I can't keep watching this video. It's like, oh, why are you doing this to my TBR?
Yep.
Like, sorry.
You keep willingly coming back to Booktube.
Yeah. For a reason.
Yeah. So Evie wants to know the obligatory question that we have to ask every time we do one of these live streams, which is, Tori, what are you currently reading?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm juggling like 3 books right now.
Love to hear it.
I'm usually just reading only 2, but right now I'm reading On Vicious Worlds. I'm almost done with that.
Okay.
Equal to These Burning Stars, which was one of my favorite sci-fi reads last year. It was incredible. Nice. So the sequel is amazing. It's just as strong as book 1. And then I don't know who approved this at Tor, but I got an Arc of the Devils by Joe Abercrombie.
Nice.
I don't know how that happened. So I'm currently reading that right now too, and it's really good so far.
Nice.
And then Empire of the Damned by Jay Kristoff, second book in the Empire of the Vampire trilogy. So yeah,
nice.
Some good stuff on rotation right now. But yeah, the Devils. I remember when I saw the Arc email, and I was like, oh my God.
Like me?
Yeah, like, I think I was reading Hero of Ages at the time too. And I just like threw She's across the room like, let me grab the Kindle now.
So remind me, for Abercrombie, have you read everything else of his?
I haven't, no.
Okay.
I actually still need to finish throughout the First Law trilogy.
Really?
Yeah, still need to finish First Law trilogy. I hopefully plan to finish it out before the end of this year.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. But I've read the first one and really enjoyed it, and I've read a little bit of Before They Are Hanged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like Abercrombie, so I'm like, why is he not an author that I'm just like consistently reading more from? And like, I know I like him and I have all of his books. I'm just like, I need to get on my Zoom and read more Abercrombie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before They Are Hanged is my favorite of the original trilogy.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's a specific character arc in between book 1 and 2 that I just thought was brilliant, and I loved it.
Nice. Yeah, I really want to get to Best Served Cold. So that's why I'm like trying to prioritize now finishing Law. Because I keep hearing Best Served Cold is so good. And I'm like, I know I'm gonna like that. That's like 5-star prediction for me. So
yeah, you should let me know. I don't know if you do buddy reads, but I don't know when you get to it. Let me know, because I might be ready to. I kind of put Abercrombie in timeout a little bit after the end of the end of First Law.
Yeah,
I'm notoriously not a fan of the third book.
okay.
But I do want to try the standalones, because I've heard, I think I may have some better luck with those. So let me know when you get that far, because I might jump on there.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I'm terrible at buddy reads, but I'll do it with you. Yeah.
All right.
Super far behind you or super far ahead. Like there's never any. Yeah.
That's all right. We could just do something where it's like, we're reading Best Served Cold, and here's our, like, we're going to have a discussion about it afterwards when we finish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was, this is so off topic, but I was buddy reading Demon in White with one of my booktok friends, Shy from Shades of Fiction. I was terrible. Like she had finished the book, and I mean, weeks later, I was still updating her about chapter like 4. And she's like, girl,
I finished.
I
finished this a while ago.
She was so good about it though. She was still replying to my reactions and stuff. So it was fun, but I'm so bad at keeping up.
That's all right. I've done enough buddy reads now that I'm pretty flexible in terms of like what type of buddy reader I'm reading with.
Yeah.
Yeah, your kitty was around. Do you want to let everyone know what her name is?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So yeah, my cat is Cooper. And I was telling Tori behind the scenes, I actually named her after Matthew McConaughey's character in Interstellar. So yeah, that's Cooper. I adopted her, oh my gosh, I think in 2018 or 2017, okay. Already a year when I adopted her. So I love cats. I love my dog, but I'm such a cat person.
Same. Yep.
My childhood cat, I had him for 18 years. So that was rough saying goodbye, but I love it.
I mean, it is nice that cats typically live a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's nice. You know what, Andrew,
Andrew,
give us a minute, okay?
Well, party pooper over here.
I know. There's another question I wanted to make sure that I got before. Reader's Journey wants to know, have you started Bringer of Dust yet?
No. Is that the book in the Talents duology by J. Miro? I haven't started that.
I have no idea. I try to keep up with all of the book titles. And I'm pretty good at it, but
there's
a lot.
That's me.
Hey, Mike Kaizen. I will not respond.
Blocked.
Just blocked, banned.
Yeah.
Brian from Belltube. Hi, longtime viewer, first time chatter. I love Tori Morrow's channel. Please let her know I exist. Okay, thanks.
I love it. Hi everybody.
Hi, everybody. So I am currently I'm listening to Mort by Terry Pratchett.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely loving it. I've read 3 of his City Watch Discworld books. Absolutely obsessed. And decided to start listening to Mort, and it's the way he describes things is just the most delightful
Yeah.
thing ever. Have you read any Discworld?
I have not, and you actually might be the first person to convince me to give it a try. Discworld wasn't, oh my gosh.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'll get this off my chest now. Just so Discworld,
let's go.
Like a series like I probably will never read video. There was one commenter, he was really upset that I'm gonna give Discworld a try. And I was like, I don't have anything against Discworld. Like, you know, I've heard so much about the series and the characters in the world sound like they're so beloved, but I just don't have any interest. I don't like humor in my sci-fi and fantasy books typically.
Yep.
And so I've never really had that, like, you know, been drawn to Discworld like that. But maybe I should never say never. So I might give it a try.
Well, if it helps convince you, I don't like humor that, like, I like funny characters. I don't like humor as a subgenre too much. So I was also very hesitant when I went into it. And the first book I read, Guards in the City Watch, I really liked it. And I liked his style of humor. It didn't completely convince me until I read book 2 in that series. And that is probably going to be my book of the year.
Oh, wow.
So it's, I don't know if you enjoy British humor.
It depends.
It depends, right?
I can handle it.
Yeah, so it's like very wholesome, kind of like old British comedy sketch kind of stuff. It's more in the way that he describes everyday things. And like in Mort, at the very beginning, the protagonist is a teenage boy, and the way that he describes Mort's just awkwardness and him being all knees and elbows and all this stuff, it's very delightfully wholesome.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
And he's probably this is the 4th book I've read by him now, and he's immediately shooting up the top of my favorite authors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So and that's coming from somebody who isn't usually a fan of humor either.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that in mind, because, you know, there's always exceptions, but
for sure
the big ones that everyone, you know, seems to love, I'm always on the outside, like, oh my gosh. If one more person tells me, oh, read Andy Weir, I'm like, please stop recommending Andy Weir to me.
I've only read The Martian and I loved it.
Okay. It's a good story. I cannot get past Andy Weir's humor and like his characters. And I'm like, oh, this character, just make him a little bit more. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. I think one of the things that made the big difference for me with Pratchett is it's really smart humor. Like, he's the kind of person that is going to use humor because he knows exactly how to use it, and he knows the beats, and he knows, you know, how to write it in a way it's very relatable humor. I think like he has a lot of like just everyday social commentary woven into this stuff that just has made me laugh out loud so many times, like describing your neighbors and the restaurant and the, you know, basic things we all know. And the other thing, I don't know if you're an audiobook person.
So I love audiobooks if I've already read it physically.
Gotcha.
Well, that's how I typically will go back and reread a book, but kind of experience an audiobook for the first time, that's a little bit harder for me.
Sure. Yeah. Same. This is I'm not really a big audiobooks person typically. This has changed my mind.
Awesome.
The newer audiobooks that they've done of Discworld are absolutely phenomenal. Like absolutely amazing. And I would highly recommend listening to those as a way to experience Discworld for the first time, because it's one of the only audiobook series that will easily keep my attention. Very, very good.
That's great to know.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've helped you. Maybe.
I'm telling you, the first person to at least convince me to give it a try.
I'm so excited. I'm trying to decide now, having read Mort and City Watch, and anybody else in the chat who watches Tori's channel, let me know if you agree with this. I'm trying to decide which of those would be a better like entry point. We'll have to talk about that. let's see. I'm just making sure everybody's. Hello, everyone. I love that everybody's always so chatty.
Comments. I'm like, oh my goodness.
So thank you for bringing this up, Britton, actually. So I went back, and one of my favorite things to do when I have guests on is go to your channel and go back to your first video ever on YouTube.
No, you didn't.
I did. No, and it was delightful and I loved it.
Oh my God.
Your autumn tag 8 years ago. And one of the things that you brought up in that was that Charles Dickens' Tale of Two Cities made you fall in love with classics.
Yeah. Oh my God. Is awesome. Past me, I didn't know what I was doing back then. I was like, let me just talk about classics that I felt. Yeah, but I really enjoyed Tale of Two Cities. And I remember the first classic that I didn't have to read for school that I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. So is that like, are you a Dickens fan, or is it kind of just Tale of Two Cities? Okay.
A Christmas Carol, but other than that, that was like me literally not knowing anything. Charles Dickens, yeah.
Hey, one of my professors in college is a like world expert on Charles Dickens, and he's amazing. And Tale of Two Cities is one of my husband's favorite classics. He absolutely loves it. So I was all excited when you mentioned it. It's like, that's like nobody ever talks about that one.
Oh my gosh. I wouldn't call myself a Charles Dickens.
That's okay.
I think I was just so like excited to be like on Booktube and talking about classics before I knew that there was more to Booktube than saying that you liked Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
So, we've come a long way, but I do still really love A Tale of Two Cities, and just I've read so many great classics.
So you've read Frankenstein,
and Frankenstein blew me away. I was actually surprised by how much I loved Frankenstein.
I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, I would say that's now more in line with like my reading taste than Frankenstein was incredible.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite classics of all time. Absolutely love it. Evie is also a huge fan of. What did you tell me the other day, Evie? You have like 21 editions of Frankenstein.
Serious, Evie.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I think is so cool with that is that Mary Shelley was so far ahead of her time with that book.
100%.
It's so cool. So cool.
I think the experience of reading it was so incredible because you feel like you know the story just because of Frankenstein, and it's just like embedded in literary, history and culture. But oh my God, I didn't know how sad it was. I didn't know how dark it was going to be. Like, it was just such an incredible reading experience. So
yeah,
that's probably one of my biggest surprises. I'm like, I did not expect to be blown away by Frankenstein.
I love that. So, I love to hear that.
Yeah, love it.
Have you read Wuthering Heights?
Oh, Evie, I had to read that in high school. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you joke. I'm so sorry to all the Wuthering Heights fans out there. That was my least favorite book in high school.
Evie and I have so she and I have a difference of opinion on Jane Eyre versus Wuthering Heights. And so Evie is looking for allies in the conversation.
So which side are you on?
Jane Eyre.
Oh, okay, good.
100%. Yeah.
This conversation now. Good.
Yeah, right. But it's funny though, because the person who actually got me to read Wuthering Heights was my husband, because he loved it so much.
Oh, no way.
And he was like, "You're gonna love Heathcliff. He's so like your type of character." And I'm reading the book and I'm like,
No.
I don't, but I don't.
There are some high school classics that, in my high school classics list, they did the best they could, but some of the things I see students reading now, I'm just like, where was that when I was in high school?
Yeah.
But I do want to do this experiment where I try to go back and revisit books that I had to read in high school as an adult and see where I land now. I think some that I just feel like I still wouldn't like to this day, but there are some that I would like to give an honest try.
Yeah. Well, and it's a question of, I think, how much was it I have to read this versus I'm reading it because I like it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some classics that now, if you were going to say, here's a few on my list of things I would like to try?
Yeah. I really want to go. Well, Wuthering Heights is one of them because I just remember
try to reread it.
Yeah. Try to reread it. And then there was a lot in just American literature that we had to read that I want to go back now with like more of a critical eye, like Huck Finn and The Great Gatsby, stuff like that I had to, and even some, freshman year, I remember was so basic. It was all the Shakespeare and like Of Mice and Men.
Yep.
Mice and Men and everything. So I'm like, I really want to go back and revisit those, but I think I do kind of want to give them a try.
Yeah. We had, so I was homeschooled all the way through. So my required reading was a little different than everybody else's. So a lot of the books that most of my peers read in high school, I'm like now reading. Like The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton is one of my all-time favorite books, and I love the film. It's so good. But a lot, I was like, oh guys, have you got The Outsiders? So good. And I was like, yeah, we read that in high school. Been there. Yeah, exactly. I agree, Shad. Great Gatsby was one of my least favorite ones I read in college also. Yeah, that was, but Shakespeare, I was a theater minor in college, so I've read a lot of Shakespeare.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like ingrained in you probably.
Yeah, and like honestly, I probably gave my wonderful theater professor some very gray hair when I was one of the students who was like, so is it just me, or is Shakespeare like mildly overrated? The poor man was probably like, but yeah, Macbeth. Macbeth is one that like Lady Macbeth is one of my dream theater roles. I would love. It would be so fun.
That's awesome.
It'd be so much fun. It'll never happen, but it'd be fun.
Keep your fit. You never know. Never know.
So. Yes, and I do want to let Evie have this moment because this is true, and this is something that I think does definitely get wrongly assumed.
I will defend Wuthering Heights tonight.
Right? Evie's like, I'm here to defend. Yeah. But yeah, no, it is not. That's a terrifying romance. I don't know if you would probably be able to speak this more than I, but I bet the BookTok girlies would absolutely love it.
The things that people do well on BookTok do not normally do well on BookTok.
Yeah, it's very different.
I don't even know what to say over there anymore. I'm just like, I'm gonna stick with the adult like sci-fi fantasy BookTok community for a little bit.
What would you say, since you're a creator on both platforms, what have you noticed to be some of that? Because I feel like there's definitely, and I mean, our society is fantastic at doing the us versus them thing anyways, but there's very much, it seems like, the snobbery, I would say, on Booktube, looking over at BookTok and being like, ugh, which like, I've been guilty of it. So I'm not blaming anybody, where I'm just like, what are they reading over there? So what would you say is like actually the biggest difference between the two?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've found such a great community over on BookTok, like I have here on Booktube too. And so the community I'm part of, they're reading all the exact same things we're reading over on Booktube.
Nice.
They love, Sanderson and John Gwynne, and Sun Eater is blowing up. So that's, and Greenbone Saga is everywhere. So that's kind of like what I typically see on a daily basis. And, a lot of like adult sci-fi indie books. But I mean, there's so many different pockets of BookTok. There's like people who read literary fiction. You have a lot of people who hype up, Black romance novels, and I follow like nonfiction creators. So, when I'm always surprised by the BookTube content that I see that references BookTok a lot of the times. It's general of what blows up over there. Of course, there's like a lot of like Sarah J. Maas and The Fourth Wing and the romantasy, girlies, and that's fine. But I think BookTube tends to run with that and try to make something out of it. I'm like, that's not representative of like
the whole.
Yeah. So I think that's what feels a little discouraging sometimes. I'm like,
yeah. And I get that, because I think honestly, BookTube's not that different. I think like we kind of forget, because we're all in this little bubble over here in our like epic or an adult fantasy world, that it's a niche in BookTube, and BookTube as a whole is massive, and there's so many. So I mean, it makes total sense that BookTok would be the same.
So I think though why it tends to get so much attention is just because of how fast it is. you know, you can just hold up a book for 10 seconds and it just, you know, does a million views. So, I mean,
that's wild.
It gets so much, it gets a lot of attention on it in a way that I don't think Booktube has quite been able to do. But I love Booktube though. Like I still consider Booktube to be like my home on the internet. So
yeah, it's very cozy. It's I don't know. It kind of feels like you're pulling up your chair to the hearth side and like, yeah, got your mug.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So when I was looking at your Goodreads, I wrote down a few books/series that I knew we needed to dip into this evening. The first one that really surprised me, and I know we're gonna talk about video games in a little bit here. Yes. But I also noticed some manga on your Goodreads. We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Alice in Borderland.
Yeah. It was so good. I love the TV show, the Netflix show. So that was my introduction.
Yes.
So I watched the first season of the show and I was like, this is amazing.
Right.
And that's kind of what sucked me in. So I wanted to, you know, experience the source material. And yeah, it was good. It was like the second one was fine, but I really loved the first one and just like how it really did the first few episodes of the first season. So that's kind of where the manga came in from. And then I'm also, you know, a huge Walking Dead fan.
We're going to talk about that.
Walking Dead is my favorite show of all time. Like,
nice.
I've seen so many like jokes going around, like who's keeping the Walking Dead on? Like they're on like season 50 with, I'm like, me. I love everything that they do. So yeah, I love the Walking Dead. So I've been trying to slowly make my way through the comic books because I'm like, read the source material. But yeah, that's my favorite show of all time, hands down.
Nice. Yeah, honestly, we could probably have an entire conversation just breaking down Walking Dead.
I was gonna say I don't have anything to do tonight. I need to pack a little bit later, but I will stay on here as long as you
perfect
about the Walking Dead.
We're settling in. I saw the comics on your Goodreads, and so Walking Dead was really interesting because I'm trying to remember when I watched the first season. It was a few years ago now. And it had been out for a while already. I am notoriously I can't handle zombies.
Oh,
I
really?
don't like zombies at all.
Yeah.
And so I had several people in my non-book community life who were like, Tori, you would love this show. Like, but guys, there's zombies in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't do zombies. I'm fine with a lot of different horror tropes, but that one, I don't know why. It's the mob mentality, the mindless mob. I can't handle that at all.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, I don't think so. And then I think I was sick one time.
No, you weren't. That is so creepy. I was sick. That's how I started watching The Walking Dead.
It's a sick comfort watch, apparently. Yeah.
Oh my God.
First episode, I was like, okay, I can handle this a little bit.
Oh,
it's all right.
So funny. Yeah.
Yeah. And then by 2 or 3 episodes, honestly, when Glenn showed up, I was hooked 100%.
Yeah, right. This is awesome. Walking Dead.
I would say now, looking back, I would say that Walking Dead is one of those shows that I can easily point to as one of the most influential, like, character writing shows on me as a writer now that I've ever watched.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so good.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's such a good character show. And I'm sure like when you got into the series, people were like, it's not about the zombies. Like,
no, it's not.
That is like the tagline that all Walking Dead get you hooked.
Yeah, I actually had a really good time. One of the ways that I prepped myself for being okay with the zombies was I went and watched behind the scenes of the extras who were playing the zombies and watched Zombie Boot Camp. That was hilarious and I loved it.
I love that. Okay, now I need to know, what is your favorite season and who are your favorite
characters? Because you can't just have one.
You can't just have one,
So I have watched officially up to the end of season 6.
Okay.
And then I stopped.
No, okay.
I am going to keep going.
Okay.
with caveats. So without spoilers for all of the wonderful people who have not seen Walking Dead in the chat, I'm pretty basic when it comes to Walking Dead. I am a massive Daryl Dixon fan, like massive Daryl Dixon fan. And I would say it's pretty equal between him and Glenn for me. Yeah. I loved Glenn from the minute I heard him on the walkie-talkie. Yeah. And I just absolutely love his character. Yeah. And Stephen Yeun is just brilliant. Besides those two, I'm trying to think. Oh, Michonne, obviously. I mean, come on. You know what's funny is I was watching the show and I kept sitting there going, I have a question. Why has no one picked up a sword yet?
And then here comes
Michonne. I was like, thank you. Somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm like, against zombies, you're gonna run out of bullets, guys.
Oh yeah.
Pick up a long blade, please, somebody.
Yeah. This is what I let slide. The fact that Daryl has been using a crossbow for this many years, I'm like, you know, you do you, but this is a really impractical weapon.
It is, but I love it. Yep. Carol is, yeah, I would agree with that. I think Carol as a character arc is brilliant.
It's brilliant.
Brilliantly written.
My mom is also a big Walking Dead fan. We will sit up for hours and like, you know, pour a glass of wine and like just really talk about Carol. Oh, so I love Carol.
We need to have like a deep dive conversation about Walking Dead because I would love that.
Live stream just focused on Walking Dead.
Yeah. Well, honestly, because one of the things that I think everybody always complains about now is like that the good TV shows always get canceled or there isn't any good. And it's true. Like there's a lot of shows where the character writing is just,
well, it's terrible.
It's awful. And especially the first few seasons of Walking Dead, I would say my favorite season. Oof, that's tough. Probably it's so hard because I feel like it's not so much like a season that I would point to, but individual character moments.
I was just gonna
say. I don't know if I could pick a whole season, but I could at 100% immediately tell you favorite character moments without hesitation. 3 and 4, I would agree, Britton. I would say 3 and 4 probably if I had to pick generally.
Okay. One of my favorites is 6. I love season 6. I love the lead up to oh my god, the finale. It's so good. Love it.
So now having told you my favorite characters, I will give you one guess as to why I stopped at the end of season 6. Yep. But yeah, I was so viscerally angry at it for a really long time that I just quit the show. I was like, I can't, I'm not going to do it.
I remember I felt sick after I watched.
Oh, I can't, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
I have to skip forward because I can't do it.
Yeah. It was tough.
So, well, I'm so excited to have more Walking Dead chats.
It's so funny that you mentioned that you were sick when you started watching it. That is exactly how my Walking Dead journey started. I was home from work sick, and my boss had actually asked me about The Walking Dead. He was like, "Oh, like, do you watch The Walking Dead?" And I was like, "I don't watch The Walking Dead." But like maybe a month later, I was just completely out for about days, just sick in bed. Turned on Netflix, popped on The Walking Dead. I'm like 2 seasons deep by the next morning.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's so bingeable. Like you can't stop watching.
Watching it.
No,
I love it.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I was very excited when I saw that in your Goodreads because I was like, we're gonna have to have like 8 Motley Crue chats just to get through everything.
And the source material, you know, I've always wanted to go back and experience the comic books because, you know, I loved watching Talking Dead too when it was on. They would always reference the comic books and like comic book moments and how it matched up to the show. So I was like, one day I'm going to sit down and like go through the comic series. So I mean, it's so good. One difference though is that Daryl is not in the comics, and I'm just like, well, that's a bummer.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, not in the comics. So
I mean, the whole cast made that show.
Oh yeah.
there's a couple characters that I feel like are really the anchors of the entire experience, and Daryl is absolutely one of them.
Yeah. 100%.
And I love his character so much.
I love Norman Reedus.
He's so funny.
This is a Norman Reedus stan at this point.
Right, same. I could watch him do interviews for hours. He's so funny. So okay, favorite characters on your end?
I love them all. Okay, I think it's basic to say Rick, so I'm not gonna say Rick, but I love Maggie.
Maggie's good.
Maggie gets so much hate. Sometimes I'll be on like in comment section arguing with people about Maggie, and I'm like, listen,
good for you.
In my life, Maggie is a great character. I don't care what anybody says. I love Maggie. I loved Herschel.
Herschel's so good.
Yeah, but Michonne hands down is just such a badass character. I love Michonne. Loved it in my career, so it's just hard. The whole cast is good.
Well, and I love how there were so many episodes where I was just relating to Michonne so much, because she would get to a point where like she was the only character who was like the voice of reason, and like, hold on. and I'm over here as a viewer going, guys, can we pause real quick and just use our brains for this for a second? Yeah, she's so good.
So good. So
and good.
Then you have to watch if you haven't finished the main series, you probably have not watched The Ones Who Live yet, right? Okay. You got to watch
I'm gonna, this, one of my things for this winter was to catch up on Walking Dead. Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. It's incredible.
Yeah. I do, Zin, and I apologize that I have not read it or watched it yet.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
I'll add it to the list.
Yeah, Craig had just asked about championing, and that was the one you mentioned was as good as the first one, right?
So I'm almost finished with it, and it's just as strong as the first one. It's like, it has a different tone to it. It still has that, I don't know, it still has like a mystery element to it. But now, because of where the first book left off on just such a wild reveal, that in the second book. And so now we're trying to like navigate that and different identities and all this kind of stuff. And like one of the colonies is facing like just some issues with the rebellion and people on the inside causing trouble. It is so good. So I think if you like the first one, you'll really enjoy the second one. I'm having a great time with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair, Britton.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? I definitely not a favorite character by any stretch of the imagination. But one of the things that I do find very interesting is I think that Daryl and Merle's story arc is really well written. It's really interesting. And I think they wrote it in a way that like both showed us how awful of a human being Merle is. And also still allowed him to be human, if that makes sense. And I think that again was some really interesting character writing.
Yeah, The Walking Dead, it is full of that. Just really excellent character writing. But I love how, when Daryl started getting closer to our group, and really how because of that, he started seeing Merle's flaws a lot more.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good. There's so many good things.
Yeah.
There's so many good things. Okay, so moving from Walking Dead to Alice in Borderland briefly.
Yeah.
So is that kind of like, do you watch Japanese Korean dramas, or is that kind of your...
That's kind of my limit. I don't. Okay. My little cousin is so into it though, and she's always telling me about different shows. Like there's one, I can't even describe it. It's like a demon slayer or a demon hunter.
Oh, anime? Yeah.
Woman's sister turned into a demon, and I can't explain it, but she watches it all the time, and sometimes I'm kind of looking at it over her shoulder. I'm like, what are you doing? This just looks so so wild. So the manga, reading Alice in Borderland and the comics for The Walking Dead, that's as far as I'm dipping my toes until like...
That's fair.
Yeah.
Alice in Borderland was amazing. Well, it came out at the same time that Squid Game came out.
Yeah.
And I have the unpopular opinion that Alice in Borderland was way better.
Oh, that's interesting. I really love Squid Game. Now, I do love, you know, Korean dramas and Japanese dramas, that sort of thing. But oh, that's so funny. I don't even know what to say now.
So I didn't dislike Squid Game, in fairness. I didn't dislike it. I think it really depends on what type of story element is like. So I'm a character-driven reader, writer, everything, watcher. And so for me, the characters in Alice in Borderland felt much more immersive than the characters in Squid Game, if that makes sense. Yeah, the plot line of Squid Game was probably more neatly packaged.
Yeah.
But
that's fair. I think I'm of the unpopular opinion that there does not need to be a season 2. I'm actually really mad that they're doing that. Yeah.
For Alice?
For Squid Game.
Squid Game. Oh, sure. I can see that.
Yeah. I'm like, everything doesn't need a sequel. No. For them. So that might be my unpopular opinion.
Well, and especially because there's a few K-dramas that like I would love to have a sequel for. And, you know, that is one thing I really appreciate about a lot of the Korean dramas, though, is that they do such a good job of giving you like a neatly packaged story in one season.
Yeah.
They're so good at that.
So good.
Yeah. Okay. So going back, because I want to make sure there's a couple I want to make sure we talk about. Greenbone Saga. So let's go there.
We're going to be here all night.
I know.
Greenbone Saga. Oh my gosh.
Because you've said that's like your favorite.
My favorite.
Love that.
Series of all time. I feel like if I get more into Dandelion Dynasty, I feel like Dandelion Dynasty can start to creep up there because.
Oh man, Pete's going to love that.
I love the Grace of Kings. Grace of Kings was phenomenal, but I don't know. I haven't read much that I would put on the level with the Greenbone Saga. And yeah, I stand by that. Greenbone Saga is just some of the best character work in fantasy. Modern
very good.
I've read. It's incredible. So I love Greenbone Saga. I love those characters. And the more I get like farther away from the Greenbone Saga, I'm like, now I'm rooting for like Aitmata. That's kind of weird. Like
I know. And that's such an amazing sign of a good writer is when you like start to humanize the antagonist and you're like, oh, wait a second.
I'm like, no, the calls are shame on them for getting on my nerves. So I'm like an Aitmata apologist. Years later, but the Greenbone Saga is phenomenal. And I saw that you really love it too. So
I do.
Yeah.
Jade War. I'm curious to go back and read it again because it's one of those series that like I read it and I really loved it, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yes.
And I think I love it more now than I did when I read it.
Oh yeah.
Where it's just kind of building.
Yeah. Because when you're in the thick of it, yeah, you're right. It is building and there's just like so much going on and all the plot lines coming together and just characters doing wild things. But when it actually settles and you have time to sit with it, it really hits you how amazing it is. And I go back and forth between like Jade War and, Legacy, which one is my favorite. Right now, I would say Legacy, but Jade War is so close. So
yeah, that's the one that I'm really interested to reread of the three of them because I think I had a harder time with the second book.
Okay.
And I think partially because my brain doesn't process the amount of information that Fonda Lee knows about her world as well as hers does. Like she's so mind-blowing in terms of how much information she knows about her world in terms of the politics and the economics and the sociology of everything.
Yeah, it's so true. And with Jade War, I think it was so incredible because I didn't know that the world was going to get that big. Jade City, and then Jade War opens up, and now like we've got different continents, and like I'm like, whoa, what is going on here?
Yeah,
she really blew the world open in the second book, but it's so incredible.
So I have to ask, favorite characters in Greenbone.
This always gets me in trouble. It's Shay. I love Shay.
Why would that get you in trouble?
Every time I say Shay is my favorite character, I get so many TikTok comments like, what?
Really?
Yes. I love Shay. I don't know what she is just, and also, you know, recently I read Jade Shards and also Dandelion. So she had a little bit of a story in one of the collections, and I loved her even more. I just think I love that idea of like, first of all, I just love siblings and family dynamics in the same way. That's such a strong point for me. But I love her sense of just like consistent loyalty throughout the series. And no matter how like bad things got, she is just like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
She's like, I took one of her lines, I think it was in J War, so, like still gives me chills when I think about it. She said something like, you know, I took oaths and those are not words that I regret. And I think from that moment, I was like, oh, goosebumps.
Yeah.
I love Shay. And then, yeah, she had another big moment in J War when she stood up for herself. And I was like, it's Shay. It's always Shay. But I mean, all the characters in that series are just fantastic. Like Hilo is just incredible. And of course, Andon, I love all of them. And now apparently Aimata, it's like
well,
characters.
I think Hilo for me was a very interesting character study because I think if I had to pick a favorite character in the series, Lan is my favorite character. But after Lan, hands down, without any question, Lan is my favorite character.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah.
Which I was, you know, to get to the end of Jade Legacy, and Lan is still my favorite character. Like, I love him so much. But Hilo, I would say, like, in terms of character type, is a character type that I often kind of am drawn to because I find his kind of character very interesting.
Yeah.
But he was such because I think so often book people always talk about, I love an anti-hero. I love an anti-hero. I love an anti-hero.
Yeah.
But when push comes to shove, usually they like a hero who sometimes feels like an anti-hero, you know?
Yeah.
And Hilo, I think, was one of the most interesting, immediate. He is an anti-hero.
Oh, yeah.
100%. And the number of people that are like, I hate Hilo. I can't stand Hilo. And I'm like, but you love anti-heroes, though. Right?
Hilo is he's such a fantastic character. Yeah. I love that of all the characters in the Greenbone saga, Hilo is always the character that I feel like I know what he's going to do.
Yes.
Before he does it.
Yep.
And sometimes it's so horrible.
Yes.
That you just like keep reading to see if you're right. That
but he's consistent.
Right. He's consistent.
Yep.
Yeah. So I love that about his character.
Chris won. I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I say more than one. Yeah.
Every time that that big Hilo thing comes up, I always send that. Oh, okay. I always do that like emoji, like I can't see like.
Yeah, I'm just getting over a head cold, so every once in a while I cough and I sound like the plague, but I'm actually fine. Yeah, there's some Shay love in the chat for you.
Yes. Hey, that's TikTok. I'm telling you, it's when I post on TikTok about Shay that I get a little push.
See, that's the actual difference between Booktube and Booktok is the Shay hate.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's time to go. It's time to wrap it up.
Chris, I really hope you're being sarcastic. Although I will say, and I won't say anything with spoilers, but I have heard a lot of people very upset with the finale of Barrow's storyline.
Oh.
I'm not.
You know, I'm not either.
I think it was brilliant.
It was. It's just it was consistent. And
Fonda's just so brilliant.
She's incredible. I feel like I need kind of a moment to like completely digest Barrow's character and like just all of the little intricate parts that he played and moving different things along. Like I hate him to death, but he is such a necessary character.
In Barrow's, I don't know if I'm going to say defense. That's too strong.
That was too strong.
That was too strong. About Barrow, I will say he probably got the most visceral reaction out of me out of any character in that series.
Yeah.
And especially, again, no spoilers, but because Lon is my favorite character, that's why. And like, I was ready to jump through the pages and just like grab a Talon knife. Like, I was like, no.
It's too much.
It's too much.
And you keep thinking that his story will go a different way and we'll go on a different note.
Nope.
Yeah, no.
Fonda just, that was one of the things I think that really impressed me about the entire series is just, it is, with how much fantasy we read, and also for me writing it, I feel like it is really hard for fantasy authors to surprise me anymore. Really surprise me.
Yeah.
And she did it multiple times in that series. And I was just like,
some jaw-dropping moments in
for sure.
Saga. And also what I really loved about it, and just, you know, exploring Fonda Lee's work like that for the first time, you didn't really know what kind of writer she was in terms of like how she handles her character. So I was like, is this character gonna make it or not? So yeah, there was like a level of tension of like, what is she gonna do? Like, how does she typically end her series? Or oh, it was incredible. I would have one series I just wish I could read again for the first time.
Yeah. I think one of the things that she did really well, kind of speaking of that tension, is that she understands as a writer that death isn't always the worst thing that can happen to a character.
Yeah.
And so many authors, I feel like, kind of default to that's like the biggest, worst.
Those are always the stakes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Fonda balanced that really, really well with that wasn't always the stakes. And it was almost worse when it wasn't.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
I have some very big Dandelion Dynasty fans in my chat.
I need to continue on with the series, but
you've just read the first one?
I read the first, just the first one. Oh my God. I am still speechless thinking about The Grace of Kings, because I already really enjoyed Ken Liu. I had read some of his short stories and his collections, so I already knew he was such a just fantastic writer. But I was not prepared for The Grace of Kings. I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but it just blew me away. I could just sit here and praise like Grace of Kings, Ken Liu. I really love the structure of the book, the way that he handles all these different scenes, because you get this like really deep and almost, you know, complete history of this world in just such a short space. Like Ken Liu is going from one thing to the next. He's like, this is what you need to know. These are all the characters. And we're just hopping around to like all these different places. And somehow it's still just a great cohesive story. It's just phenomenal writing. So Grace of Kings.
Well, it's interesting because when I've heard people talk about the series, a lot of times the first book is the one that gets the bad rap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where people are like, yeah, the first one can be a lot, but just get like, you know, then it kind of
the first one was so good.
So that's awesome that you like the first one so much.
It was so good. I think it was just because I didn't know what to expect, and I just had that, you know, kind of previous knowledge from reading some of Ken Liu's stories before, that I was finally getting into his like big epic fantasy series. And I'm like, I didn't know Ken Liu was doing it like this. So I think that's what just kind of like blew me away going into it. I love The Grace of Kings.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really excited to read it. I'm trying to get myself to a point where I've finished some of my other series so I can really give myself the headspace to do Dandelion Dynasty.
Yeah.
But every time I've watched interviews with him, he's so interesting to listen. He's such an interesting person and has so many, like, I love his philosophies on writing, and just it's really interesting to listen to him.
Yeah. Oh, he's great. I'm a big Ken Liu fan. So I do want to, you know, one of my big goals, I don't think is going to happen now at the end of 2020.
You got 2 months left.
Yes. Like binge the series, but one of my goals for 25 is to finally get into The Wall of Storms. So, The Grace of Kings is so good. I don't know why book ones always get such a bad rap. Like, I read Empire of Silence. This is off topic too, but I read Empire of Silence and everyone was like, first book was so bad. It was boring. It was slow. And I'm like, what are we reading? We did not.
Yeah, are we reading the same book?
So Grace of Kings, fantastic. I'm happy to see some Dandelion Dynasty fans in the chat. It's just
let's see. Yes. Oops. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah, I have Paper Menagerie on my list as well. I have it on my shelf, and I'm really excited to try. I think I might start with some of his short stories.
You know, I actually recommend starting with his short story collection because I think you just, you know, you get a sense for his flow. You get a sense for, I mean, they're so different, but you get a sense for how he structures things. And I don't think I've ever read an author that carries that kind of short story technique and format into a full-length novel, let alone like an epic fantasy novel like that. So I think that is what was so impressive to me about The Grace of Kings.
Right. I'm going to bring this up also only because I noticed that you have read some Robin Hobb.
I've read the first book in the Farseer trilogy, and I was so lukewarm about it that I have not yet continued on. I want to finish it out because I do want to finish the Farseer trilogy, if only because I just want to get to the Live Ship Traders trilogy. And I know you don't have to read Farseer to read that, but I'm like, I'm in it now. Like, I'm dedicated to just wrap it up. But
what was it about Apprentice that you kind of bounced off of, do you think?
I just was not a fan of Fitz as a character. And I think that was such a big disconnect. I was expecting to go, because I've heard so many great things about, you know, Robin Hobb's character work, and you know, everybody loves Fitz. And I read the first book and I was like, everybody loves who? So
this guy.
So I think it was more so that I was like, this is not the character that I thought would be leading a story like this.
Right.
I really like the world, you know, that we were introduced to in the first book in Assassin's Apprentice, but Fitz as a narrator, he is so long-winded. And I was just like, oh my God, we got to wrap it up, Fitz. We have to. How can you even remember all that? He was like telling us about like dinners that he had and breakfast. I'm like, oh my God. So it was a little bit of a character disconnect for me with Fitz in the first book, but I keep hearing Farseer gets better. And, you know, just in general, I am excited to keep going on my Robin Hobb journey. But the first book was interesting.
Yeah, there's some really good characters in the first trilogy. I think it's interesting, and I know the Realm of the Elderlings nerds in the chat will back me up on this, but I know that like it Fitz, if you don't like Fitz, that, you know, it is going to be a harder sell for you in Farseer, because he is, you know, and you're right, like so often those bigger epic fantasy trilogies aren't like a single protagonist, and it's very heavy in Fitz's POV. And yeah, so I actually had kind of the opposite problem, where I read the Farseer trilogy and enjoyed it, and then started the Live Ship Traders, and I don't know that I'm going to finish it.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
If you don't like Fitz, I would guess you'd probably have a better time with Live Ship Traders. It was a very personal, like it was one of those things where I bounced off of it because of the way it was written, and I was like, I can't handle this level of like just gaslighting and horrific. Like, I can't do it. So I know a lot of people that I'm friends with that love the series really love Live Ships.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold out hope for it.
Yeah.
I don't know, just everything I hear about Robin Hobb and Realm of the Elderlings, it's just so much love there for it. I do want to get deeper into it just to see exactly where I'm gonna land. But I'm hopeful that Live Ship will be a better experience. And who knows, maybe like Farseer will pick up for me and I will grow a little bit more attached to Fitz, but I'm not holding my breath.
You never know. There are some really good characters in that trilogy, and it's been a long time since I read it, so I'd be very curious to see how I felt about it on a reread.
Okay.
But she has a very one of the things I noticed about Robin Hobb is that she makes you care about the characters in a way that it's kind of a slow burn as a reader, where you don't even realize it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Until you get to a point later on in the story, and all of a sudden you're getting really emotional, and you're like, where's this coming from?
Like, whoa. You're like,
yeah, where's that coming from?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think she's very, very good at emotional character writing. but yeah, I'm very interested to. I'm gonna probably skip ahead to the Tawny Man trilogy.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I don't know. I won't say never with live ships. I may go back someday, but also, can I just say this is another like doppelganger thing. Yeah. I love that you're drinking out of a large mason jar.
Yes.
Because
all I use.
Me, same. I'm actually doing like, this is weird for me because usually I have mason jars.
This is so funny.
Everywhere. And it's so funny because on a few live streams, I had people in the chat that were like, that's water, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty it's water. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I love mason jars. Anyway, that was an aside.
No, I love them. They're all over my house.
Same. My mom actually helped me clean out my kitchen a couple weeks ago, and she comes in and she's looking through my cupboards and she's like, so do you need this many mason jars? Yes.
Yes, I do. My mom has done the exact same thing. I'm like, I don't even, this is like a real mason jar. Because I try to save like actual like food jars and repurpose them. And my mom is like, listen, we'll like, order you some like cups if you need. Just like,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of glassware. So yeah. Hashtag adulting. Yeah. I think it's really funny because if I could go back to my 15, 16-year-old self who was, I'm going to be an adult someday. Like, yeah, you are. And you're going to get really nerdy about glass mason jars and ceramic pans. Yeah. Get excited.
I mean, that is, when you think about it, it brings a lot of joy.
It does.
It's actually sad. I get excited for cleaning products. I'm just like, it's incredible.
You've taken the step into adulthood when.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, oh, that vacuum looks really nice. So,
yeah. It is funny though, because all of a sudden you're like, when you're the one that's responsible for all this stuff, you realize having a nice vacuum really makes a difference.
It makes a difference. Yep. It makes a huge difference. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay, so I do want to, you mentioned it already. I do want to talk about Sun Eater because that is a series that, and Zin is in the chat and I know he's going to yell at me as soon as I bring this up. Yeah. That is a series that I'm really excited to read. I'm so excited
for you.
I'm so excited. And it's probably in my 2025 plans.
Yeah.
That's the goal, how making plans. Right. But one of the reasons, and I was going to get your opinion on this because you've read both. Yeah. And I think I really appreciate the people that have started speaking up about not comparing series so much.
Oh, I know exactly what you're about to say too. Yep.
I know you do. Yeah. And I think I hadn't finished, so I still have Lightbringer left in Red Rising.
No, oh my God.
Yeah.
You have to read.
No, I'm going to. Before the end of the year, I will have read Lightbringer.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It took me a while to get into the second half of Red Rising. And it almost became a joke on my channel. And I had people being like, you're a fake fan because you've only read the first 3. But I didn't have the experiences I was hoping to with Iron Gold and Dark Age.
Oh no. Okay.
I didn't love them. And I've been told that Lightbringer is a little bit more of a return to form with the original trilogy a little bit. But I'm really hoping it is.
Lightbringer. Okay. So Lightbringer was phenomenal. I would say Lightbringer is my favorite of the series so far.
Of all 6?
Of all 6, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was amazing. And Dark Age was up there for me too, though. So but I think Lightbringer has, Dark Age was just so much going on. It was just big, it was brutal. There's these big kind of long battles happening, especially towards the end of the book. And so Lightbringer, now we're in the aftermath of all that. And now we're like trying to figure out how to regroup.
Right.
How to build up, build alliances back up, all of that. So, and I think there were just so many great nods in Lightbringer to why we fell in love with these characters in the first place. And like a lot of very nostalgic reading through Lightbringer. So, and some of the decisions that happened in the original trilogy
Matter.
Yeah, definitely matter in Lightbringer. Yeah.
Okay.
So I love Lightbringer. So definitely a little bit of a different tone. There's still, you know, great moments, great battles in Lightbringer, but it's really like we gotta lick our wounds and clean up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see how he ends the series.
Yeah, that is something I've been thinking about for a while, because this is, you know, Pierce Brown's first series. We don't know how he likes to do his endings, if he can stick them, if he's just gonna like kill off everybody. So I really want to see like
right
technique is for ending a series. I can't wait for Red God.
I mean, I'm pretty optimistic because I feel like, I mean, Morning Star is my favorite trilogy end.
Yes,
I love it. Yeah, I love it so much.
Morning Star. Yeah.
Yeah. Morning Star is in my top 10 books of all time, easily.
Yeah. Great.
And yeah, so I'm looking forward to Lightbringer. But yeah, Severo is my favorite fantasy and sci-fi character of all time. Period. Yeah. There's no I love him.
I just love the cast of Red Rising. I would put Mustang Virginia up there in my top characters, but Severo is incredible.
Victra's up there for me too.
Victra, oh my god. Victra
so good.
Is, like, incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm speaking of video games briefly. I'm always the barbarian tank character player, always. And so Victra just spoke to me, especially in that original trilogy. I was like, I get you, girl.
So good. She's so good. Yeah. And I don't know. Of course, everyone, you know, has their own opinions about like the female characters in this series, and I'm just like,
I'll die on that hill.
I'll die on that hill with you.
Yeah.
Red Rising has some incredible female characters. Some of my favorite not even just my favorite, some of the best in my opinion in sci-fi fantasy. So I love it.
Totally agree. I think this is actually something that I've been saying I'm going to do this for a while, and I do actually need to do it, but I want to do a series of videos on Red Rising because it's one of my favorite series, and I want to really dig into, like, I'm going to tackle the complaint that EO in the first book is fridging. I disagree with that.
Okay.
And
your like discussion videos are so great anyway. So
thank you. I panic over them for like 8 months before I actually
overthink it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, and like, you know, one of the things that drives me bonkers, and everybody knows this, is if one of my trigger things is if you say, oh, like Red Rising, especially the first book, is just like the Hunger Games. I will talk on that for hours. Yeah. No,
it's so different. I think what people think they mean when they say, oh, it's just like it's Hunger Games for adults, is that I think, especially marketing and publishing, I think they feel like Red Rising is the next like logical step for someone who might have been a fan of the Hunger Games back in the day.
Well, and everybody just on this one. Yeah, this cracks me up. So I need to do a video just on blurbs on books.
Oh my god.
Like,
they're so out of control sometimes.
On the back of Red Rising, it says reminiscent of the Hunger Games and Game of Thrones. And I'm like,
Lord.
Okay.
Okay. We just two biggest things, and completely different.
And they're so different. And like, I don't know. And you know, on one of the, I think on the hardcover is the one that says first Ender, then Katniss, now Darrow. And it's like, no, because both of those two were like. So my big argument for why the first Red Rising book is not YA, which I can't believe I have to make this argument to begin with, but when you have a YA novel, the characters are concerned with teenage, typically, problems.
Yeah.
Darrow is married.
Yeah.
He has a full-time job that is incredibly dangerous and could take his life at any moment. He is a major breadwinner for his entire community. He's young, yes. But this is also like, if we look back at the inspiration historical era of this, and we have a lot of these kind of Greek and Roman themes coming through. Yeah. People were adults a lot sooner back then than they are now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's a soapbox that I can get on for ages.
Great discussion. I would love to watch that.
So yeah, but I mean, that was a tangent. Back to Sun Eater.
I love how you even remembered to bring it back. I'm like, let's just talk about it.
I'm really proud of myself, honestly.
Oh, you too.
Thanks. For the ADHD is working with me for a second here. So it always drives me nuts that people compare like, oh, Sun Eater and Red Rising, and it's like, well, just because it's an epic space,
it drives me crazy
story. Yeah. And so I have been trying to put a little bit of space in between. I wanted to finish Red Rising before I started Sun Eater and give a little bit of space between them, just so, because I'm not going to compare them. I don't want to do that.
They're so different. Like, I don't know. That's like someone saying, oh, I love, if you say, oh, I love Sun Eater, and someone says, oh, Greenbone Saga is better. And you're like, they're two different series. What are we talking about?
Yeah, apples and oranges.
That's literally how I feel about Red Rising and Sun Eater. They're completely different series, different scope of story.
Yeah.
Also, just in terms of writing, what's focused on is completely different in a lot of places. Sun Eater is very character driven, and not to say that Red Rising doesn't have, it's great character moments over the course of the series, because it definitely does. But I mean, Red Rising, there's like action everywhere, like
everywhere,
just left and right. It's very like, action driven in a lot of places. And Sun Eater is so like just slow. It's character focused, but it's so dramatic at the same time. And just like the world of it is so massive on a level that I think Red Rising is great and the world building is incredible, but Sun Eater for me is just different level, different characters. Just even narration is completely different. We have a character with Hadrian who's looking back on all of these events and has so much perspective now. So we get a lot of that infused into the story. So I mean, Sun Eater is just, it's incredible. I love them both, but Sun Eater's on a different level for me.
I'm really excited to read it. And I think one of the things I noticed in a lot of the books that you've really been loving, like The Grace of Kings, and you've got Sun Eater, and you've got, what was the other one? Well, Greenbone obviously would be up in there too. Makes me really excited to see your opinion on Long Price Quartet.
Oh my gosh, I just picked up.
I know you did.
I just picked up in summer, and
I'm so excited.
Inspiration for that, because I was kind of hearing about it here and there, just like floating around. And then I think it was one of your videos, like your favorite books of like, all time or favorite series. And you convinced me to finally pick it up. So I'm excited for it.
I think it's going to be really interesting, because what I'm kind of seeing in the pattern of the books that you've been talking about that you really like is and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you really like a really rich, detailed, time spent in this world kind of setting. And Long Price Quartet, and also you don't mind a slow burn story build.
I love it. Yeah.
And I think that is going to be a winning combination for Long Price Quartet, because Daniel Abraham it's a masterclass in both of those things, in my opinion.
Incredible. Yeah, I'm so hyped for it. I found just, as my reading tastes continue to grow and change, I'm so big on like just a really good and deep and, just really well realized world. And of course, I love a good character driven, just a good character driven story as well, and great character motivations. But there's something about great world building, that, I don't know, you just can't beat it lately. So I'm having such a good time with it.
Well, and I think too, like the other thing about Long Price Quartet is, I think that is a test series for me whenever people say I'm a character driven reader, because LPQ is not, it's not action packed. It's a very slow burn, like kind of like Greenbone does that. I love that Fonda does that thing where she looks at these characters over a lifetime. And LPQ does a lot of that as well.
Okay.
And it's really deep character building. And there are some moments in there that I had to just stop and reread a section of dialogue or an explanation of a character motive, because it was just so brilliantly written.
Yeah.
I think it is, I would say LPQ for me is one of the most underrated masterclass fantasy series available.
Oh, that's incredible. That's
Yeah,
like really,
I'm excited for you.
I can't wait to read it. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on that.
Please do.
25 TBR for sure.
I'm going to be stalking your Goodreads.
Yes.
And you're right, Evie. So Alan from Library of Alexandria, he's a huge champion of LPQ, and he's actually the reason I picked it up.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And I still want to go back and watch. He did an interview with Daniel Abraham.
Cool.
About Long Price Quartet, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Unless I'm completely no, he did. Anyways, and yeah, I really want to go back and watch that. And after reading the second book of LPQ, I went online and I bought everything Daniel Abraham had ever written.
Oh, no way.
Like, so, and I think based on your favorites, I think you're going to really like it.
Oh, I'm excited. I think I have a couple, not only that one, I think I have other, Daniel Abraham on my shelf. I think I have Age of Ash on my shelf.
Okay.
So really want to get to that too in the new year. But yeah, I've heard some good things.
You didn't like Mercy of Gods though.
Oh my God.
I noticed. I've been hearing mixed results on that one.
That was just so, I didn't, you know what it was? I did not like. Okay.
It's bad when people start rubbing their eyes.
Oh my God. Now I have to go on a little tangent about.
Please go for it.
Gods. And I completely, I didn't finish the Expanse series yet. I'm on like book 4. But so I wasn't like going into it like, oh, this is going to be like the Expanse. I go into it with the experience. But that cast of characters in The Mercy of Gods, I was not into them at all. I think it was, we had that really great moment in the beginning where we get the great alien invasion and people are like trying to figure out what's going on and they're all terrified. But once we really started honing in on these characters, I think it was too many of them, the research group. And like maybe if we had just focused on a couple, it would have been a little bit tighter, a little bit stronger. But we get the story spread out across all the characters in this group. And I'm just like, I think by the midway point, I was just like, oh my God.
Over it.
For me, they were not strong enough to carry that story.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
So
the protagonist, not just protagonist, but the perspective choices make such a huge difference in storytelling, because you can have an amazing story, and if you pick the wrong character or give the wrong character too much airtime,
oh, it was too much. So I was like, I really wanted to love it too. I was so excited, but yeah, I couldn't get past the cast of characters.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I've read by Daniel Abraham is Long Price Quartet. I want to start The Expanse. I'm really excited to read that.
Oh yeah, I love what I've read in the Expanse series. The Expanse, I've been saying this for years. It's so embarrassing. I need to.
It's like 9 books, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a 9-book series, but I've been stuck on just one book in the Expanse for like 2 years at this point. So I need to just like buckle down and finish it. But I love the Expanse.
Nice.
I love the TV show. It's so great.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that one. I have the first 2 books. But yeah, I don't know if you have this problem, but I struggle finishing series now. Oh,
100%. That is me in a nutshell. I think sometimes my audience trolls me too about finishing series. It's bad. I will start a series. I'll start book 1. I'm like, that was incredible. And won't touch book 2 for like a year. So I'm like, I've been trying so hard, especially this year, to be better about it. So like, I'm going back now and like closing out series that have been open for so long, like Mistborn. Why am I still reading Mistborn in 2024? I was so annoyed.
Yeah, I mean, you do you.
Yeah, right.
But yeah.
That was very nice.
The fact that but it is funny because the fact that you've like read Tress and you still hadn't finished Mistborn yet,
It's ridiculous. And then I read Warbreaker. I'm like, okay, I'm reading everything, but so
that's one of my goals for this next year too, is to go back and I don't want to see the list, but I need to make a list of all the series that I'm like part way through. I mean, the biggest one that I seriously need to get on is one of my favorite series of all time. I'm still stuck like halfway through it, and that's Malazan. I've read 4 books.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, you'll get there.
But I'm still on book 4 10 years later. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I literally read Gardens of the Moon for the first time when I was in college, like 13 years ago. And I got through House of Chains.
Yeah.
And then, well, in fairness, I had children and like my life changed drastically and I was just trying to mom for quite a few years. But like I need to finish it now. Yeah.
Very cool. No, that is one series that I want to start, but I'm just like, there's too many. I have too many series I'm juggling right now.
Yeah.
Like I just want to close out maybe just a few more. And there's like a lot of big series I still want to get into. Malazan is definitely one of them. And Wheel of Time is the other one.
Okay.
So
yeah, I mean, if you love big world building, you can't. Malazan is
you can't get any bigger than that. Yeah.
No, no, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm excited about Sun Eater is because I feel like what I love about Malazan, I'm probably going to find something similar at least in Sun Eater.
That kind of epic scale, and you know, when I went into Empire of Silence, I think what I really loved about it, I had been reading so much fantasy like leading up to that. And I think I was just like almost craving
something else.
Yeah. I was craving like an epic sci-fi story, epic sci-fi world. And man, I fell in love with Empire of Silence like almost immediately. Like I loved Hadrian right away. And just by the time we get to Howling Dark, it becomes a true space opera in a lot of ways. It's so good. I'm so excited for you.
I'm excited to try it. And I think like, and from what I've heard, Hadrian is kind of that grizzled veteran kind of protagonist-ish.
Kind of, but it's so his journey, especially if you love great character work. I think Hadrian's character is so fascinating. He's a character that just did not want any of this. He didn't want anything. He didn't want to be involved in anything that he's involved in, where I am in the series right now. And he just makes so many little choices that just keep kind of altering the course of his life. And it's just so incredible. I'm just like, oh, if you just maybe hadn't gotten involved right here, or maybe if you hadn't said that thing, like we wouldn't be here where we are right now.
Right. Yeah.
Demon in White. So, it's so good.
I'm excited. I'm really excited. I have quite a few friends that are really, really big fans of it. And I have all the way up to Ashes of Man up on my shelf. So they're there.
They're waiting for you. And if you don't, just get on with Empire of Silence, I still encourage you just to
try Howling Dark.
I think by the end of Howling Dark, you'll have a better, a stronger sense of like, this is going to be for me or not.
Yeah.
So good. I can't wait.
I wish I could read faster. Like, honestly.
Oh my gosh. I think about it all the time.
So go ahead.
Oh no, I think about that all the time, but being a content creator, I just have to keep reminding myself, like, focus on the book that you're on, one thing at a time. The next book is going to be there. Like, it's almost like a respecting, like, just, I want to focus and give my attention and respect to the book that I'm reading and not be thinking, wow, why is this book 700 pages? Like 3 books in the time it takes me to read this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that is hard though, and like you just pointed out, as a content creator, I know it has drastically changed the way I read.
Yeah.
And it is hard to stick with one series because as we're doing these videos and putting out new content, if I'm like, all I read this month was one series, and then I almost have to make a whole bunch of videos just on that series. Yeah, it's a tough balance, I feel. And I think also it's fun to be able to taste test a lot of authors and kind of get it. And I mean, but you and I have been doing this long enough now where we don't really need to figure out what we like anymore. We're kind of past that.
Yeah. Now I'm just like avoiding series I need to finish at this point. I'm just like, let me just read this one thing over here. Yeah.
The shiny syndrome.
Yeah.
So other than Malazan and Wheel of Time, what are some of the other like big series or just popular series that you feel like are on your radar?
Oh man, there's a lot of them. So yeah, Wheel of Time, Malazan is definitely one. Lycania's trilogy is another one. That is like actually more so than other series that I have on my TBR. Lycanius is like top priority for me.
Well, you loved Will and the Many.
I loved the Will and the Many so much. I actually loved it so much. I wanted to just throw out the rest of my TBR and just like binge through Lycanius. But again, I was like, no, I gotta space things out and like.
Why do we do that to ourselves?
I don't know. I love Willow and Minnie so much. I came out of it like, oh, like Phineas is about to be incredible. So, and it's not even like, you know, obviously they're completely different and he wrote it at an earlier time in his life, but I was like, there's something about James Islington's writing and his style that I really like. And I feel like that's going to be present in Lycania. So I was like, I've convinced myself Lycania is going to be 5-star series already. So that's a big one that I do want to get into. I really want to go back to A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, I read the first 2 books like Booktube. I was still in college and just fell off because the TV show started. I was like, I'll just watch a TV show.
Yeah.
I still have, it was such a beautiful gift from my mom, the box set. So I still have books on my shelf. And I'm like, one day I am going to go back and get into, you know, really get into the book series. So
sounds like you have one of those #1 fan moms.
My mom, she's incredible. Yeah, she's always like, I liked your video, or like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's been just encouraging reading and, you know, encouraging my love for reading my whole life. So yeah, she's
love that
for sure.
Yeah, that's one thing. My husband and I are both English majors. Both of us are writers. And so our kids are like growing up in just a library, basically.
That's really good. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm excited to see them. Like one of the things that's been really interesting. So my son he'll be 12 in December.
Okay. Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, he's my oldest.
Yeah.
It always surprises people when I tell them I have a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I have a 12, a 9, and a 7.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Super mom then.
It's a busy house for sure. Yeah, this is my my mom time. I get to come on here and talk about books, awesome. You know. But one of the things my son said recently that I thought was really interesting and just kind of made me take a step back and look at the way that I approach reading. And I've kind of, you know, gotten into, like, we're talking about the hustle culture of Booktube and just like never finishing series and just reading the next book. And I got him, he has his own Goodreads account where he's rating the books that he's reading and stuff.
Cool.
And everything's 5 stars. Everything. And it's the most beautiful thing, because I asked him once, I was like, you like 5 stars again? Like, wow, that's really impressive. And he's like, I don't know that I've read a book I didn't like yet. And I was just like,
that is beautiful.
That's such a beautiful, like, he just goes into every book expecting to have a good time.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, how do I get that back? How do I, you know, like, how do I, because I go into books really excited to read them. Yeah. But I think, you know, as adults and especially as content creators, we get really critical.
Oh yeah.
And he's been inspiring me to kind of clear my headspace a little bit more with the books that I've been reading. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think it just has so much to do with like just getting older and like the joy of little things just slowly just starts like getting thinner.
We just become curmudgeons slowly over time.
Yeah. So I love that he does that. But
yeah, it's really sweet. He's actually read Lord of the Rings before I did.
Oh my God, yeah, before me too. That is
I haven't yet.
I feel like I haven't gotten my like fantasy badge of honor yet.
I know, right? It's like that's the one series.
Yeah. I should add that to like the big series list. Yeah. I have read The Hobbit.
Me too.
Many years ago.
Okay.
But we're like fully gotten into like Lord of the Rings. So
yeah, I want to. I really want to read the series. I read The Hobbit for my birthday this year because I turned 33, and I was like,
oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, what better time? Yeah. My Hobbit birthday, I have to read The Hobbit. But for his birthday, his 12th birthday in December, he hasn't seen the films yet.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And so Ben and I, my husband, we're going to do like the girls are going to go to my parents' house and we're going to do just a movie marathon with just him. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Oh my God. I need to watch the movies too. I've never seen the movies.
Tori.
I know. But because all these years, I'm going to read the books first. And each year, slipping by, I've never seen Lord of the Rings. I can't believe I just admitted that on live. stream. I've never watched Lord of the Rings.
You heard it here first. Everyone go to Tori's channel, subscribe, and then let her know in every comment under every video. Tori, have you watched Lord of the Rings yet?
No. I've always had like this big, for the last maybe like 3 years, I've always had this big video plan to read the book and watch the movies and do like just one large Lord of the Rings video. Like I read and watched Lord of the Rings for the first time, something like that. But every year just keeps slipping by and I haven't done it. So yeah. And
those films are incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I hear such great things. I'm one of those like never seen Lord of the Rings people in the same way you get like adults that are like, I'm watching Harry Potter for the first time. And you like go through that whole experience. What's going on? What was
I am reading it for the first time this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Harry Potter. Yeah. So we're both unicorns and different. Yep.
That's awesome.
Evie. Next Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. Binge read, binge watched, everything.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for it though, because I mean, I know really next to nothing about Lord of the Rings. So
wow. Yeah. That's actually really awesome. Like I'm excited for you to have that. I wish I could go back and watch those films for the first time again.
Yeah.
Oh, so much.
I know. And sometimes I get comments like, not people are like, how haven't you seen Lord of the Rings? But I'm like, I didn't grow up watching or reading Lord of the Rings or anything like that. I was so into like, I feel like I was the HP kid. And then later on I became like the Twilight fan and all of that. Yep. That was kind of like, what I grew up doing. But
that was kind of our generation's process.
Like in the process, Lord of the Rings just completely escaped me somehow. So
that's all right. Well, I think it'll be really cool to see as an adult and as a reader, a really seasoned reader of fantasy now, what you think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really excited for it, but I do wonder like, how is it gonna hit all these years later? I feel like I'm gonna appreciate it as like just a work of, classic fantasy literature. But yeah, now having read so many other fantasy books, I don't want to come into it and be like, oh, this is just like boring old man fantasy. So I don't think I'll have that experience, but either way, I'm so excited for it. But yeah, it's something that keeps slipping farther and farther down the to-do list.
I feel that. Yeah. The films were like hands down one of the most influential fantasy anything for me my entire life. And I still haven't read the books because I didn't grow up reading them either. And the films are just so good. They're so good.
I keep hearing all about it and like what Peter Jackson did, adapting the books, so.
And the casting.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm excited. So maybe hopefully sometime in 2025, that'll be the big video. Like, guess what I did the last like month.
Yeah. I feel like this is cracking me up in the comments that there's people like we're being called the Tories now.
I love it.
We'll have to do like a book club thing and just the Tories talk about.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. I actually do have The Spear Cuts Through Water on my shelf. I've heard amazing things about Simon Jimenez, so that is on the TBR for sure.
Evie is the like Simon Jimenez herald on Booktube.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she actually got to interview him, which was very cool.
Oh, no way. Evie, let me do your channel.
She was only Evie as the channel too. Yeah. Evie. That was really cool. It's always so much fun when I get to see booktubers get to interview a favorite author, and it's so cool.
So cool.
And it's also very cool that I think we've been at a point for a while where authors are so accessible to their reading communities now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously there's pros and cons to that, but I think in general it's very positive. That is the question, Britton. I don't know.
Evie, I just realized I'm already subscribed to you.
Story of my booktube life.
Never mind.
Okay, let me check because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, I recently, as in like this month, finished a book that you hated.
Uh-oh. What did I hate?
Do you know which one I'm going to mention?
Is it? It's not the. Is it?
Senlin Ascends?
Oh my God.
I just wanted your reaction. I was so excited.
Sorry. I'm so sorry to say. I cannot stand that book. Oh my God. I remember, yes, that was my least favorite book of last year. And I remember coming out of last year, I was like, when I did my worst books of 2023 video, I was like, this is the last time I will ever mention Senlin Ascends.
Oops. Sorry, not sorry.
I do not like that book. That was definitely one of the books where I'm very different than the hype that I was coming into with the Farce trilogy. When I finished Senlin Ascends, I actually sat there and I was like, there is absolutely no way I just read the same thing that everybody else finished. Oh my God. I'm happy you love it. I didn't mean to turn this into like a little.
No, I had criticisms. I definitely had criticisms for sure.
It was just so boring for me. I'm sorry. I remember there literally came a point in the story.
Almost died.
There came a point in that story and I was like, I genuinely hope his wife is gone. Like, I hope she has just fled. I hope she has left. I was getting so upset. I do not like that.
Like, run, Maria.
Run. Yeah, please. And I think what was so, I'm sorry, I don't mean to like.
No, it's hilarious. I love it.
Similar sense, but I think what was so, like, just so bad for me was the premise was so incredible. And I feel like the storytelling and the writing and the character was not matching it.
Sure.
Like, how do we have this incredible premise, this incredible story, the plot, the setting, everything, and just the most watching paint dry type of character leading us through this story? I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Okay, I'm done.
No, I love it. So I love having conversations about books, like regardless of opinions, because I find it really interesting.
I do too.
So it's one of my husband's favorite series.
Okay.
And this man devoured 4 books. Like, he's a slow reader. I'm a fast reader. He's a very slow, thoughtful. He usually retains a lot more of what he reads.
Yeah.
But he read this series. I haven't watched him binge a series like that.
Oh, that's incredible.
And he just loved it. And it was, but it was interesting because I started reading it because we always pick a book for each other every year.
Oh, I love that.
That we have to read before the end of the year. And Senlin was the one he picked for me.
Okay.
And I promised him I was going to read all 4 books. I said, no matter what, I will finish all 4 books. And I want to be able to talk to you about your favorite series and whatever. Yeah. And the first one, I really liked parts of it. I really liked parts of it. And I actually liked the characters more than the setting.
Oh, okay.
Like the tower, it was one of those things where I could tell the tower was like Josiah Bancroft's baby. Like, you know, every author has the thing, right?
Yeah, the thing, yeah.
And I was just like, meh. Like, I just.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So it was almost completely the opposite. Wow. And the thing with Senlin is his personality and how he approaches, how do I put this? The way that he just trusts innately in the good of people when he really obviously shouldn't.
Yes.
Is exactly how my husband is.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm reading this and I look over at him and I'm like, I completely understand why you like this series so much, because Senlin, there's so many similarities here.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of parts where he was like, yeah, did you see this coming? And I was like,
yeah, I did. Yeah.
I did, because I don't trust people, because I'm just that kind of jaded individual, you know?
I love that, yeah.
He did say, I had some major issues with character motives and some stuff like that. Okay. But he did say that book 2, he's like, you're going to love book 2, because that's a lot more of a like action Motley Crue kind of thing.
Okay.
So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you.
Thank you. Tori's just shutting the door.
I didn't think I would ever have to talk about Senlin Ascends again. This is so funny. Yeah. Oh man. And I felt so bad too, because, you know, at the time last year, I feel like Josiah Bancroft was still like really gaining traction and gaining an audience. And I was
that
like,
makes sense.
I have to cut on my camera and talk about this. I was trying to be so nice to it, and it just wasn't. It wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to.
How
I just ripped it apart at the end of the day.
So when because I mean, you have a pretty, I mean, you're very honest, which I really, that's a big thing for me with booktubers that I watch, is I don't want people to pretend that they like things they don't and whatever. But when you're creating content and reviewing books, how much do you think about, you know, how am I talking about this book, and do I want to do a negative review of it and that kind of stuff?
I don't really think about it at all in terms of I hope the author doesn't see this. That's
right.
Like never my thought. Unless it's like a really small, like indie author and I didn't like something. And then I'm like, well, this is kind of awkward. But I always make sure to say, you know, if elements of this sounded good, you know, definitely give it a try. One thing that's on my mind when I'm doing my updates or wrap-ups or something is I want to be respectful of people, like the audience that's watching me, my subscribers.
Yeah.
I never want someone to come away from my video feeling like they're less than or they're better than them because I hate this book or like this, you're terrible. Like I never want that experience. So I feel like I'm kind of always try to be respectful of like just about specifically what I didn't like, but not in a way where it's making people be like, well, I liked it. What does that say about me? Or I would be mindful of that. But otherwise, I just let it rip.
I love that.
Because I've watched some creators in the past where I have left videos feeling like, well, that was kind of condescending or that was a little So I never want that to come across in my video. So I do try to be mindful of that, especially if something's going to be on the more negative side.
Well, I have to say, I'm always very impressed. I'm always learning because I'm very honest also about the books that how I feel about the books that I read. But I'm like you, I'm trying to be very mindful of like how I'm approaching talking about it.
Yeah.
And I've always been really impressed at how well you articulate that you didn't like the book, but also
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've never watched a video and been like, oh, that was mean. Like never.
Comments that said you are like, you can be negative nice. Like when you talk about
like,
I don't know.
That's a skill.
I don't know. I really that's my goal. I just want people to not feel like, a certain type of way.
Right.
That, oh, well, I like this or I didn't like this. And what does that say about me? Because I mean, I love, like you, I welcome a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm talking about books that I love and people are in the comments like, Tori, this wasn't it.
I can't believe you like that book.
I did not like this book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're so nice about it. And we just have like a really good discussion about what we did and didn't like. So that's what I love and that's what I welcome. And that's what I just try to stick to when I am talking about a book a little bit more negatively. I'm like, somebody liked this.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be that person that's like, you suck if you like, And
I think it's a healthier way to have a discussion on the internet, honestly, where even because I know a lot of people that absolutely hate the first book of the Red Rising series.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always very open to, I also don't idolize my favorite authors to the point where they can do no wrong.
Same.
Like I will blast Pierce Brown for some of the decisions he made in Dark Age and Iron Gold. And he's one of my favorite authors of all time. And I'm like, my dude, no, that wasn't it. And I think it's important to be able to have nuanced conversations about what we did and didn't like and why somebody else might have really enjoyed that. And, like my husband and I are notorious for this. We have a lot of overlapping tastes, but he likes conceptual fantasy and like that really kind of big brain abstract-y, Gene Wolfe-esque kind of stuff. Yeah. And I'm over here like, I love you so much and I'm so sorry, but I can't. Nope. No. But I want to hear you tell me why you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That's how I think that's how it should be. I mean, I just personality wise, I can see it in watching your content too. When I finish something that I didn't like, my first thought is never like, who likes this or how does
No.
that doesn't even occur to me.
It's just how I feel about it. Yeah.
Maybe with Sinless of Sins, that was a little different, but
all right, who?
Yeah, who likes this book? Yeah.
My husband.
But I mean, otherwise, yeah, it's just you just keep it chill. And I think it's a way to say that you didn't like something and explain why without making other people feel a certain type of way if they did like it.
Yeah, there's only, I think, of all the books I've read, there's only 2 or 3 that I won't talk about in depth on my channel because I know that I will be very viscerally unkind to them. Yeah. And I try not to do that because I work really hard to suppress my Slytherin tendencies on my channel.
Nice.
But yeah.
I mean, it's sometimes it could be a little difficult. Like I think if the fan base is big, and you didn't like something, that's a little different because then you just kind of open yourself up to
fandoms are scary.
Yeah, you open yourself up to people who don't know you, and your video just comes across their page, and now they're in your comment section. So that I think that's a little different if you like, bashing a big series.
Yeah. So my last question for you is, for you, have you been able to kind of you've been on Booktube for 8 years, which is an accomplishment, by the way. Congratulations. Still putting out great content 8 years later.
Thank you.
So over that time, the kind of patterns that you've noticed, like what does a book have to have in terms of elements of character, setting, whatever, that make it a 5-star read for you?
Oh, that's such a good question. Oh, man. First of all, world, really detailed, really good world. And one thing that I found that I really love in books, I love good relationships, good dynamics. I love sibling relationships, especially. I think a lot of my favorite books include some kind of family dynamic in it. So that's why I'm excited.
I'm so excited.
Some kind of family dynamic, or just really, not intense relationships. That sounds a bit much, but really like good, emotionally mature relationships between characters, and characters really feel like they belong in this world and that they know each other. They know how to navigate the world. So I look for that. I think I'm drawn to like kind of darker themes. So I found that a lot of my books that I love tend to have, just like dark elements to them. I love it. Good world, good characters, and that's pretty much it.
I love it. Yeah, that I could basically word for word almost exactly what you just said.
So I think the family thing in particular is like something that has really drawn me in over the years. And not even like found family. I love like brothers and sisters and like parents and like that kind of vibe when I'm going into a fantasy or sci-fi book.
That's always impressive when there's parents in a
we don't
find the non-orphans in this genre. It's like 5 books.
I really love that. I think also one of my other favorites, I love Priory of the Orange Tree. I just got to talk about this book recently again in my video. That has some great character relationships, just great characterizations and dynamics. I love Priory of the Orange Tree. So that's probably one of my more recent favorites that just really sucked me in. But I also love books that play with genre. So something that's not, I love sci-fi fantasy, but I love when I can read something a little darker that blends those genres. Those tend to stick out to me, like stuff like Helm of Midnight. So
that all sounds amazing. I love it.
Yeah, and good female characters. I love a ruthless female character. So
So if you could pick a book to recommend for me to read.
Oh my gosh.
That I haven't read yet. Besides like a major series like Sun Eater that we've talked about.
Oh man. Okay. Let me think about what I know that you've read and what you haven't. Have you read The Mask of Mirrors?
Alchemy of Masks and Mirrors?
No, it's the Book and Rose trilogy. I would give book 1 a try.
Okay. Masks and Mirrors is the title.
The Mask of Mirrors. Yeah.
Mask of Mirrors.
That's a great one.
Okay.
Oh, it's fantastic. And then Helm of Midnight, if you haven't read that.
Midnight. Got it.
Oh, I see Evie asking the prequel. I have not read the prequel. I want to read it, A Day of Fallen Night. That's going to be in 2025.
I can't. Why? How are we planning 2025 already? I don't.
It's wild. I'm slowly starting to put together my like anticipated releases and everything, and it's just already it's out of control.
That's insane.
So yeah,
I need like 6 months where nothing comes out and nobody asks me to read anything.
That's so true.
So I can catch up.
Okay, to focus on the series and closing out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then what would you recommend?
Okay, so I'm trying to think if I'm gonna miss any. Well, I did see that you've read Never Die. Yes. And it surprised you, but I really liked it.
Roger, yeah, I need to finish the books. I mean, I think they're all different characters, different problems in the world, but I do want to finish that out. Yeah, it was such a nice surprise. I really enjoyed that.
I'm really glad you. I like. Yeah. So, Mortal Techniques is one of my favorite indie series ever. I love it.
Yeah.
Spirits of Vengeance. Like, I loved the first 2 books. They're so good. And then Spirits of Vengeance just like shot that series up to 5 stars for me. I loved it so much. For you, okay, knowing what I know about good female characters, the world building, everything you said, you like a slow burn, you like relationships between characters. So I have 2 indie books for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
The first one is The Wickwire Watch by Jacqueline Hagan.
Oh, yes. I remember seeing that in one of your videos.
Especially since you're such a big Charles Dickens fan.
Yeah. Gosh. I'm going to go private that video now.
And you also love, if you love books that play with genre.
Yeah. Oh.
This is an epic series, but it's also Gaslamp Dickensian, like... it's a kind of an emotions based and supernatural based magic system.
Okay.
I'm still in shock that this is her debut series. And some absolutely phenomenal female characters in this series.
Oh wow.
All of them so good. Highly recommend that one for you.
Okay. I just put it on the TBR.
Love that. I'm actually just about to read book 4 in the series. I love that series. It's so good. And then the other one, because I know you mentioned in also in your fall tag video, so I made note of this, that you love, like, again, the slow burn, the kind of themes of like theology, history.
Yeah. Okay.
That kind of stuff.
Yep. That has still stuck with me. Yes.
Yep. And this is the old cover. He just redid the covers. But one of my good friends, Andrew D. Meredith, he wrote one called Deathless Beast. And this is the first book in his Collation saga.
Oh. Okay.
He's one of my closest writer friends. And Tori, when I tell you that, like, I am consistently mind blown by the world building.
Wow.
That Andrew does. Like, he has mapped out, he did not necessarily that he'll use it, but he has a mapped out graph of like moon phases in different areas of his work. Wow. Like, it's so detailed.
Okay.
And some of the best exploration of like religion, faith, and like the having versus not having. And like, there's so much to the series.
Just put it on the TBR too.
So those would be my 2 for you specifically. Those would be 2 books that I think I would be very interested in your opinion on.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. They just went right on the TBR.
Yay.
Nice.
Have you read Susanna Clarke yet?
I have not. I haven't read Jonathan Strange or Piranesi.
I just read Piranesi last month.
Okay, cool.
I liked it more than I thought I was going to. I'm going to be honest.
Oh,
it's
really?
Very thought-provoking. Oh, her writing is just beautiful.
I've heard great things about her books. Yeah. I think, I have Jonathan Strange somewhere back there too. That's another one I keep just like, I'll get to it one day.
I mean, we have just a couple to get through, you know? Yeah. Well, we've been talking for 2 hours, and I don't want to take up your entire evening. It goes so fast.
Oh my God.
And I want to say a huge thank you for coming on the channel and chatting with me this evening. I've been looking forward to this so much.
Oh, of course. Oh my gosh. Thank you for inviting me and having me on. And yeah, comments were great. So
yeah, thank you everybody in the chat for joining us. Please, again, go down in the description, whether you're in the chat now or watching the replay later, go down in the chat box and click the link to Tori's channel and give her a subscribe. And remind her to read Lord of the Rings in 2025.
I'm just like gonna wake up to comments in the morning like that just say nothing but like, have you read or have you watched?
The first one will be me.
Love it.
Honestly, I think it would be really fun to do a deep dive.
Oh, I'm so down for that.
It would be really fun.
I could talk about The Walking Dead with you for hours. Yeah.
Honestly, I would love it would be really fun even to just break it down like season by season.
Yes. Tori, I have had no one to do this with except
I'm in. I would love that. I could talk about Walking Dead characters all day.
All day. Yeah.
All day. Yeah, thank you guys so much in the chat for hanging out and for your awesome questions and comments. I forgot my outro. My brain just went blank. I hope you guys
it was so good. You just
yeah. I hope you guys are reading 5-star reads, having a great week, and we will see you in the next video. Bye guys.
Thank you.